Hello and welcome to Finding Phoebes. My name is Indigo Brood and today we're going to be talking about this wonderful bird. They're definitely one of my favorites. This is a test to see how hard it is to record on Zoom, and I'm telling you this is like my 15th take already, so this is really challenging for me, but we'll see how it goes. So first off, some just basic introduction about the Phoebes. Today we're going to be talking about the black phoebe, but there are actually three different species of phoebes. All of them live in the Americas. Two of them you will find in California. One of them is the eastern phoebe, and that's the one that lives on the East Coast, and you won't see him here, maybe rarely, but you just don't worry about it. So the other one is the Say's phoebe, and we'll talk about him in another program, but this one is, today we're going to be talking about the black phoebe. All phoebes are members of the family called Tyrannidae, or tyrant flycatchers. This is one of the largest and I think most interesting family of birds with over 400 species. The name tyrant reflects their territorial nature. During nesting season, you'll often see these quick little birds chasing and harassing much bigger birds like hawks and eagles who get too close to their nests. They're called flycatchers because they're skilled hunters who primarily eat flying insects. Phoebes are year-round residents of the southwestern United States, including the entire Pacific coast of California. Black phoebes in California are often referred to as the Northern Black Phoebe because California is at the very northernmost portion of their range.
Phoebes are very common and easy to find in pretty much any park or green space in California. What you want to do is find someplace that's pretty close to water, and then you need grassy areas. They like big open lawns, but they also need someplace to perch. So you want trees or picnic benches or trash cans or barbecues or anything that's normally in a park. And they'll perch on those structures and then a couple feet off the ground, and then they'll swoop out to catch insects that they see flying over the grass.
Both sexes of phoebe look the same. They're small birds, about 6 inches from top to tail, bigger than a goldfinch, but smaller than a pigeon. They have a plump, upright posture with a large head and medium-long, squared tails that usually hang straight down. They often show a slight peak toward the rear of their head. Their eyes, bills, and feet are dark. Their beak is straight and thin. Phoebe feathers are a dark, sooty gray overall with a white belly that comes up to a peak on their chest. Juvenile phoebes look fluffy and have brown wing bars. What do phoebes sound like? If you go to pretty much any park in Southern California, you will hear them singing all around you the whole entire time that you're at the park. So let's see what they look like, and then you can go out and see if you can hear some for yourself in real life. The phoebes are fairly vocal, and you'll often hear them before you see them. Their call sounds kind of like a tee-hee or even a phoebe, if that helps you remember it. The behavior of the phoebes is very distinctive. You can see them usually from a distance. The pattern on their chest of the color helps to be able to see them from far too, and their sound. But you'll see them doing their fly catching behavior, which is perching in a space and watching, and then they'll swoop out to catch an insect. So this is fly catching behavior, and they do this because they're going out to catch bugs. Now, another thing that's distinctive about phoebes is they do this thing where they bob their tail. And I never knew before why they did this. Apparently some researchers have gone out and done a study on this and tested a whole bunch of different theories as to why they could be bobbing their tail. And it turns out they determined that they bob their tail to deter predators. So they said that the tail pumping rates significantly increased when a predator was detected either visually or audibly. The suggested purpose of tail pumping then is to advertise the bird's awareness of the predator's presence. Tail pumping communicates the Phoebe's health, and that in turn, that it will be a more difficult prey to be captured. So I've been thinking about this a lot since I discovered this, because if you keep your distance with the Phoebe, watch them from afar, you won't see them usually doing the tail pumping behavior. And when you get closer, you'll see it starts going. So it's a pretty good test to let you know that you're getting a little too close to them and you're disturbing them. Phoebe nests are a mud shell lined with plant fibers, plastered to a hard vertical wall like a rock face, building eave, or irrigation culvert, within an inch or two of a protective ceiling. Nests are usually 3 to 10 feet off the ground or over water, and even those built over the ground are always located near sources of water and mud. Phoebes will reuse nests from year to year, and the female does all of the nest construction or refurbishment if they're using one that they've used before, and it takes them 1 to 3 weeks to build their nests. Phoebes have 1 to 3 broods of 1 to 6 eggs each season. How to attract Phoebes to your garden? First thing that you want to do is provide places for them to perch. It doesn't take much. Garden stakes, trellises, fence posts, anything that's up. It seems their preferred height seems to be from 3 to 6 feet off the ground. They like to perch there and keep an eye out on their surroundings and swoop out for bugs when they have them. Since Phoebes are flycatchers and they eat insects, it's nice to have them around in your garden to naturally keep the insects population under control. So what you want to do to assist with this is minimize the use of pesticides and poisons in your home, lawn, and garden. If you use pesticides to kill the bugs, then the Phoebes aren't going to be there. And if you poison the insects, then the Phoebes are then eating that poison, so that's not very healthy for them either. We have a Phoebe that likes to hang out in our backyard, and he hangs out by the compost pile because there's all the little flies and mites in the air, and he likes to eat those. So he's very happy sitting on the perch eating the insects. Another thing that you can do in the springtime, they need to have their mud for their nests. So if it's possible, leave some small muddy patches in your garden in the spring so that they have that mud, and that will encourage them to nest somewhere around in your yard, on a wall, or on the side of your house. Okay, so let's take a look at the questions and see who we have, what kind of questions we have here. Okay, so we have one question from Katie in Toluca Lake, and she's asking, why don't I ever see Phoebes at my feeder? Well, there's a really good answer to that, and I'm not sure what kind of feeder you have, but most people either have a seed feeder or a nectar feeder. So the reason that the Phoebes don't come to those feeders is because they don't eat nectar or seeds, so they eat insects. So if you want to put some mealworms out for them, they would probably love that. But they would probably still have to be alive, because once they stop moving, the Phoebes don't really seem interested in them. Okay, question number 2. This is from Mindy in Hanford. Do Phoebes drink water? That's a really good question. So Phoebes will drink water, but they don't really need to, and they don't need water as much as other birds do. So normally in California, when people ask how do you attract birds to their yard, first thing you say is put in water, some type of bird feeder, bird bath, where they can take a bath and they can get a drink. But because Phoebes eat insects, the insects are very juicy and are full of lots of liquids. And so they actually don't need a lot of water in addition to that. Okay, so this is question number 3, and this is from John in San Diego. And it says, what kind of insects do phoebes eat? Phoebes eat a lot of flying insects, but they also will get some creepy crawlies. Sometimes they'll hop around on the ground and get things on the ground. So they'll eat beetles, grasshoppers, crickets, wild bees, wasps, flies, moths, and caterpillars. And this is an interesting thing. I actually was reading that phoebes will eat small fish, that they'll sit over the water and they'll swoop down. And I was thinking, okay, that's kind of crazy. I've never heard of that before. And then yesterday we were at the park and we were watching this phoebe, and that's exactly what it's doing, is perching over the water, and it would swoop down and catch insects off the surface of the lake. And I'm not sure if it was getting fish, but it definitely could have. So that was very exciting. So I hope that answers your questions. If you have any more questions, put them in the comments down below. And thank you very much for taking the time to watch this. And I think that's a pretty good test. We'll see how that goes.